And here I am with Alain Lanceron, who is the president of Warner Classic and Erato. I've been a friend of Alain for several years. Alain was born in Nice a few decades ago.
Yes.
Alain studied business, studied economy. Alain was for a while a journalist, but very quickly you worked for Pathé EMI.
I was a journalist when I was a student because I wanted to have free tickets to concerts and operas. So I thought the best solution was to be a journalist and to write articles.
And then
they for a while, which I did for a decade.
And they let you in for free. Were you a tough journalist? Were you a nice journalist?
I don't know. I was very young, so maybe, you know, when you are young, you are more enthusiastic and sometimes maybe tougher. I don't know. No, I think it was okay.
Yeah.
When I read I did that very seldom, but when I read my articles, you know, it's me who wrote that. It should be somebody else.
Okay, but then maybe you have a different perspective than when you talk with your French journalists. So then you started to work with Pathé Marconi, who also was owning EMI in the time.
Actually, I wanted to put together my taste for music and classical music and my studies, because I did business school at l'École supérieure de commerce de Paris, and so I wanted to mix both, and to enter a record company was for me the best solution. And I applied to be a trainee, and they said no, but maybe when you have finished your school, maybe you could be interested in you. So I applied once more, and there was nothing available in the classical department, but there was a post in the pop department as a pop label manager, and said, what I want is to enter this company, and once I'm there, I will make do, which I did, because that's 1 year. So for 1 year, I was pop label manager,
right.
And after a while, nothing happened, and I went and saw my boss, the boss of the French company, which was not my direct boss at that time. And I said, so you have to tell me what you have in mind for me, because otherwise I will leave the company. And so probably what I said, he liked what I said, and he offered me to create a post for me, which was special project manager, which meant nothing and everything, because so I dealt both with classical and pop, with commercial and artistic. I had an office in Chateau, which our
main office?
No, not the main office. The factory was,
right.
You know, at that time we were pressing black discs,
right.
vinyls,
LPs,
and so my office was there, and actually it was also to help the factory to be efficient, and I stayed there for 4 years. It created, so it was called Projet et Productions Annexes, something like that.
Okay. Weird projects.
Voilà. And so I did a lot of things, including signing sessions with pop and classical artists in some companies. You know, they used to go at lunchtime and sign records. So it was very nice. And after the boss of the classical division, which have been there for 25 years, died, he was replaced by somebody who didn't stay. After 6 months, he resigned, and it was it was a long time ago. It was at that time. It was in October '78. I tell you that you will understand why, because my boss, my office was in Chateau, so it was 30 kilometers from Paris, and the main office was in Paris near the Place de l'Étoile, very center. And he asked me to come in the evening and said, I would like to see you. I said, okay, I will come. So I went there it was 7:30 p.m. and said, have a seat. I said, what you will say to me? And he said, Jean-Paul I died. Viva Jean-Paul.
Vive the new Pope. Yeah.
Because it was at the time where Jean-Paul I died, and
unexpected.
After 6 months of Rin,
Yeah.
and it was replaced. So
And he was referring to
he
you.
was referring to me, so it was very, very nice of him. So I said yes, and so I became director of the French company for classical music. But at that time, we had a local French program, a local recording program, which was quite efficient at that time. From all the major territories had a local recording program: France, Germany, UK, and States, and Japan.
When you say recording program, you mean?
It's next to the central program, which was done from London.
Right.
We have local recording program to promote French artists or French music or for
And does that mean the recording technically had to be done in France too?
Not necessarily. No. But very quickly, my French program became international because I wanted to expand. It was very, very funny at that time because we were regarded from the center from London as really sub company. And I remember I called or I wrote to Alfredo Kraus at that time to make a recording with me, and I received a message from London saying local companies shouldn't contact directly international artists.
And how did that turn out? Did Kraus answer to you?
No, of course, and we did the recording.
Exactly.
But so I stayed there as the boss of the French company for many years until EMI bought Virgin.
Right.
And Virgin had since for the last 2 years classical division,
right,
which started very well. But
Virgin Classics.
Yeah, Virgin Classics. But they said it's not relevant to have a separate because it was too small. It's not relevant to have a separate classical division, to have two classical divisions within the group. So they merged
EMI
in each territories the Virgin Classics activities within the EMI people,
right,
with the EMI staff. And they just had a small center of 3 or 4 people in London. And
so what does that mean in terms of the label EMI, at least in the time?
At the time, we had EMI Classics and Virgin Classics.
It was bought by Virgin Classics.
And it was the time where also before we had 2 labels. Also for EMI, we had His Master's Voice in Europe and Angel.
Right.
His Master's Voice actually. La Voix de son maître in French, but it's in English. And Angel in the States and Japan, because we didn't have the right to use His Master's Voice in the US and Japan. It belonged to RCA. So after a while, the boss of EMI at that time decided to, when the CD appeared in the early 80s, when the CD appeared, we decided to forget one His Master's Voice and Angel, and to create a new logo for the EMI product, which was really international, called EMI Classics, and it was a red square with EMI Classics. You remember that?
And so when you say you had the logo, did you absorb the catalog too? Did you absorb?
No, we had our catalog, of course. We had the EMI catalog. It was a rebranding exercise. We just rebranded all our recordings on this EMI Classics logo, with this EMI Classics logo. And after we have also this was in the 19th when we bought Virgin and we got Virgin Classics. We had 2 labels.
So what happened to Virgin Classics?
So what happened to Virgin Classics is that after a while they asked me to be president of Virgin Classics from Paris.
Yeah.
So I was director of EMI Classics for France and president of Virgin Classics for the world. And so I had 2 recording programs, one international for Virgin Classics and one more local for EMI Classics. And very quickly, I realized that it was stupid to have 2 recording programs, and I said I will put all my activities under Virgin Classics. And there was some artists I started working on EMI Classics, such as Nathalie Dessay, for instance. The first recording of Nathalie Dessay were on EMI Classics, and after I switched all the recording to Virgin Classics, and I rebranded her catalog. I think only Michel. I decided that Michel Plasson should stay on EMI Classics because he had a very comprehensive and extended catalog.
Yes, that was very clearly marked. Yeah.
And it was already.
But then Virgin Classics disappeared.
And no, actually, Virgin Classic didn't disappear, or disappear at the same time as EMI Classic, because at that time we were bought in the 90s by an English company called Terra Firma.
Mm-hmm.
And the least to say it was not a success.
Mm-hmm.
And we were on sale, and we were sold to Universal.
Mm-hmm.
But we were too big. You know, when you added, especially for classical music, when you added the catalog of Deutsche Grammophon of Universal, which was Deutsche Grammophon plus Decca, plus Virgin Classics plus EMI Classics, but too big a catalog, and Brussels, you know,
the Antitrust Commission
and the Trust Commission in Brussels said, okay, we will give you the green light to the sale on condition that you sell again 1/3 of what you bought.
Uh-huh.
So was created a kind of hub gathering some labels, including the two classical labels, EMI Classics and Virgin Classics. And also companies in some territories, EMI France, but not EMI Germany. So it was a little bit complicated. So we were sold to Warner. So Warner, overnight we became Warner. So what is interesting, what is difficult to understand, and some people at that time didn't understand that, they said, why didn't you continue to use the EMI and Virgin? Because the logo and the names and the labels, EMI Classics and Virgin Classics, stayed within Universal.
But it's an empty shell.
It was an empty shell. We came to Warner with our recording
under the arms.
Under the arms. And so we have to rebrand the complete EMI and Virgin catalog.
But why were they able to keep the shell for themselves? They were not. The commission didn't ask them. They asked them to sell.
Because they sold. They bought EMI, and Virgin was part of EMI. So they bought. So we kept the catalog because it was what was decided and accepted. So we came with Warner with our recording under our arms, as you say, and we had to rebrand in a period of 4 months, 2,500 titles.
Wow!
Immediately. So originally Warner said rebrand everything under Warner Classics.
Right. But
we had two labels at EMI. We had our competitors, our main competitors, Universal, had two labels, then Decca and Deutsche Grammophon. And I sold to them the idea that we should keep two labels as well.
Right.
And revive Erato, which was a sleeping beauty at that time.
But a very prestigious old French.
It was a catalog created and developed by Michel Garcin, famous producer of Erato, historical producer of Erato. But it was the same at Warner. They bought both Erato in France and Teldec in Germany. And after, so it was a very successful start. And after a while, somebody at the center, you know, we are very dependent of people and sometimes of stupid because we're small business. So it's very, you can say we want to develop this classical music, or similarly, you can say we want to stop classical music because it's not profitable enough, although it has always been profitable, which is not the case of pop all the time. So we decided to keep the two labels, Erato and Warner Classics, and so
what makes
roughly it's not totally right. Roughly on Erato we put all the Virgin Classics catalog and also all the French catalog, my previous French catalog, which at that time was a competitor of Erato. So it was funny that the two competitive labels became one unique label.
That's an amazing development, but it's also an incredible evolution.
And I forgot to tell something. When we were bought by Warner, Warner asked me to become president of the two labels of Warner Classics and
Right. And since 68 or even before that to today, the evolution from the LPs to the CDs, the DVDs, now the streaming and the online has been incredible. How do you feel about this evolution? How did you personally adapt to this? Do you think we lost something? And how do you see the future?
The future, we speak.
Yeah.
What I can say is that the world has changed completely. I don't have the feeling to do the same job as 20 years ago. And same job, because otherwise it would have become a little bit boring. The world of, you know, when I started in this business, it was the last decade of the LP. So there was already problem of the LP, but at the same time, it was the last decade of the great era for recording music. Everything was one. You had a lot of very charismatic artists, iconic artists, which become iconic sense of the development of the recording music, of course, of the monos, the stereos. It was unique times, you know, and this time was prolonged thanks to the appearance of the CD, because when the CD appeared in the beginning of the 80s, everybody wanted to recreate their discography, their discotheque.
Yes,
discotheque,
their library.
Their library, their home library. So it was very convenient because you could put up to so at that time it was 75, now it's 80 minutes of music on the CD. When on the LP you had 25 minutes. After the last years of the LP, you could, thanks to the direct metal mastering system, go up to 35, but you had to turn the CD, the LP, you had cracks, the quality was not always very good. So it was a huge progress, the appearance of CD, and everybody...
Did you see that yourself from the beginning, that the CD would totally change the industry?
Yes, some people didn't like the CD because it was...
Changed the quality of the sound.
The sound quality was suddenly cold. I didn't feel that.
You liked it from the start? Yes,
I liked it from the start, in the same way I liked mono recording. When I started, you know, at EMI, when I was director of France, I created a series called Reference for historical recording. At that time, you had a lot of historical recording available in the catalog, but transferred with a fake stereo. And I didn't like
artificial
stereo. So with Reference, we recreated a mono sound, which was very interesting and effective. And this series was extremely successful, both on LPs and then on CD.
So they still exist on CD.
Maybe some are still on the catalog. I don't know, but very few now, because you know. So it was a reference we speak about 30 years ago,
right?
Something like that.
So and then
the word of yesterday was. I'm not a pacifist, and I don't say that because I'm a pacifist, but it's true that it was a kind of wonderful times. These days, it's much more banal. I would say.
Ordinary. Yes.
Ordinary, yes, exactly, ordinary. And you had at that time the supremacy of major companies.
Right.
You had 5 major companies at that time. Now, I think the major companies, I shouldn't say that, but the major companies have lost their supremacy because everybody can produce music. The labels as such are not as important as they were before. Remember the Decca sound? You remember the Decca sound?
Yes.
Or the pressing quality. In France, we had la boîte son maître series with a red square, with a 4-star quality. This doesn't exist anymore at all because record companies don't have in-house producers and sound engineers, so everybody hires the services of the same people.
Right. when you started this business, you were very quickly loved by the artist, and you developed very strong relationships with artists. Who are the artists that were the most important for you, that made the biggest impression on you?
But of course, the biggest impression for me was the artist I admired when I was young, and I was buying the recording, and suddenly I became friends to these people, and of course, for me, my greatest joy when I started was to know and work with people like Emmanuel, Rostropovich, Elizabeth Schwarzkopf, Nikolai Geda, people like that.
And so, how would that work? Would you go to Rostropovich or Geda or Schwarzkopf and tell them, listen, Elizabeth, maybe you should record this?
So all depends. So there are some artists I worked their back catalog. They were not performing anymore. So
right.
Such as Schwarzkopf.
Yes.
So Schwarzkopf, we created a box set called Les Introuvables d'Elisabeth Schwarzkopf. It's a special issue of l'Avant-Scène Opéra, you know, this review magazine. Well, it's not a magazine, it's a book usually. And we did that with several artists, with Schwarzkopf, with Victoria in Los Angeles, with Boris Christoph, people like that. And there are some other artists. Of course, I exploited the back catalogue with Yehudi Emmanuel, for instance. I did a lot with the Reference series in particular, but also I made recording with him, and I had the privilege to make Yehudi's last recording 2 months before he died. It was the transcription the piano transcription by Beethoven of his violin concerto. We did with the Symphony of Varsovia Orchestra, with François-René Duchable as a pianist, and Yehudi as a conductor. And he did that 2 months before he died.
Who are the artists who were the easiest to work with? And did you have artists that really were difficult, like they would not like the way it was recorded, they wouldn't like the way you marked it?
Yes, there are artists who are more difficult than other ones. But you know, it's maybe when you say you are loved by the artist, because I am not an artist myself, but I understand the artist, and I see how difficult it is to be an artist, to play your repetition every night, because if you have a bad concert or a bad opera performance overnight, you can be destroyed. It's very, so I think I take that into consideration, and I know to be an artist is something very, very difficult. I'm not sure I would have liked to be an artist myself. I have been destroyed immediately, because you need to have really nerves. The lot of qualities you need to be an artist is absolutely crazy.
Right.
That is why there are so many candidates and so few
people who succeed and who could do this. You studied economy, and all of a sudden you moved to Pâté. You had a passion for opera from the beginning?
Yeah. From when I was 4 years old, I was already going to the opera. My father
in Nice,
was taking me to the opera. I was 4 when I saw my first opera. But when I was 7, 10, I was regularly to the opera, and after I continued.
And when did you think I could work in that industry? Did you study economics thinking, I
wanted to be a stage producer. When I was
stage director.
Stage director when I was 14, 15. And I think I would have been a very bad stage producer. And I wrote to Jean-Pierre Ponel, by the way. And he never replied to me, and it was
he just said, forget it.
And after, I thought that, on the contrary, to have a major role in the record company was, of course, the right thing to me.
Right. What is, according to you, the most important ingredients to have a successful recording? And maybe what has been the evolution of this through time too?
There are rules, of course.
Yeah.
But once we have said there are rules,
You have to break them.
There are only exceptions.
Right.
And we try to find the exceptions, actually, because if it is rules and routine, that is not interesting. An artist, and it has been more and more the case of these days, because everything has been recorded hundreds of times, the same works. So we have to find a way and create for a new recording a special profile. If the recording has not an identity and a special profile, the identity is probably the right word. It's pointless to make a new recording. So as I like to say, when you have a proposal, the right answer is not why not, but why.
Why are you doing this? What's the purpose of doing
what's
this?
the purpose?
Yeah.
So you have to find a true reason for to do this, and that is why it's also the case more and more these days when we can make recordings everywhere on confinement. Recording can happen. The last week I got maybe 20 proposals for new recordings.
And so what makes you say yes or no to those proposals?
Flair.
Yeah.
Some
feeling,
flair, and intuition.
Yeah.
You have to find something special in an artist, especially when you have a new artist who come to you and say, "I would like to come to your roster." And my biggest reward. My biggest reward, and when I bet on an artist,
and it works,
and it worked, and I see this artist climbing the last steps.
Right.
I like this image.
Yes, because a career as a recording artist can also really move forward the career of the performer. That used to be very much the case. It's a little less the case. And nowadays, you can also find yourself on YouTube and so on. And even if you don't have a contract with a major label, you can have a big career. Or sometimes you have artists who have recordings, they don't have a career.
Usually the artists who have a big career
have also a recording career. It's still true today.
It's still true today, yes. You have now. We will see what
with the COVID,
what will happen, because more and more opera companies and concert platforms make their own streaming activities, and sometimes it's good, and sometimes it's in direct competition with the recording career.
What are
the recording activities, and
right.
this can become a problem.
Sure. What are the projects you are the proudest of in all your career? What are the things you say, I nailed it, I chose that artist and it's working, or I decided to record that opera with such and such artist and I'm really proud I did this?
I would say my collaboration with Michel Plasson, all what we did in Toulouse with him for 20 years, we really built a castle at the glory of French music, French composers. Really, it meant something, and we had a wonderful souvenir from this recording.
Memories,
session.
Yeah.
Especially Michel was so generous, and at the same time he loved music, to do music on the spot at the last minute. He was not somebody who was making plans for the right 5 years of recording. He was calling me, I would like to record that. That's fantastic for this and this reason. And sometimes we were making the recording 3 months later. Right. So in some other cases, especially with opera, we have to plan it. So I would say that. And with Michel, I have many wonderful souvenirs, because we brought to Toulouse almost all the great artists of that time.
Right.
Except maybe the only one I could have invited into Toulouse was, and which I didn't for X and Y reasons, was Placido. But with Placido, I did Samson et Dalila, the Paris Opera, and other things as well. But in Toulouse, he's the only one who has not come to Toulouse. But otherwise, all the great artists of that time, Jesse Norman, Teresa Berganza, José Van Damme, Nicolas Gueda, Alfredo Kraus, Chikov, Villazon, after Nathalie Dessay, all the
do you have any, this is a more tricky question, do you have any regrets? Do you have any projects that you said, no, this is not going to work, and then you saw that maybe someone else did it and it worked, or you say, I missed this, I should have done this, or on the contrary, I've done a project and in the end it's not as good as I wanted?
That it is not as good as I wanted. Yes, because of course I made, I think, almost 1,000 different records. Not myself.
Yes.
I used producers, and I'm not producer myself. But I was at the start of some almost 1,000 different projects. Of course, there are some successes and some failures. Yes, there is one artist. I think, why did you sign him? I ask myself regularly, why did you sign him? I will not tell you.
No, you don't.
And it's somebody probably nobody knows. So
okay.
So there is it's not an issue.
Okay.
But in most cases, thanks God, I am very proud of my rosters and my artists, and for many of them became friends, and I think of course it's important. So you asked me which artist. So I said Plasson and Toulouse. I am very proud of the edit by UNESCO we did in Monte Carlo with Laurence Foster, with José Van Damme in the title role. Because this recording has a story. We are supposed to do it in '87 with Sam Raimi in the title role.
Right.
And I made the cast already around. And 6 months before the recording, Sam called me and said, it's not the music for me. I'm not comfortable with this music. So I don't want to do it. So Larry Foster, we brought a lot of money from peer sponsors to make this recording happen, proposed me to do it with a Romanian singer. I don't remember his name. Yeah. So I auditioned him. He came, and he had impossible French, and this opera was created in Paris.
Yes.
In the 30s. So I wanted a French cast or something very good in French. And I said to him, it's impossible to do it with him. So he was not happy. He said that, we will do it when we can. And if we postpone the recording by 2 years, in 10 years, nobody will remember that the recording was made 2 years later. So I called José Van Damme, which was my original choice, by the way. It was not free. We decided to. And I said, José, when is your next free time? And he gave me a time, and so it was 2 years later, and I recreated the recording of the show. So this is the second thing. And the third thing, which has nothing to do, is I'm very proud that we were the first to be in the USSR,
right? To
record with the Leningrad Symphony Orchestra when it was still the USSR, and we did with Maurice Janssens and the Leningrad Orchestra, Rack 2 and Tchaikovsky, one with Michael Rudy.
Wow.
And I think we did that thanks to Michael Rudy, because he is the one who prepared all the papers, because I signed contracts in Russian, I didn't know that it was him. And it was 1 year before, I think it was in December 90, so it was 1 year before the Perestroika. 1 year before. And we went there, I went there. It was still the USSR, and we made this recording. It was the first time a company,
a Western company
from the Western side, was making a recording with that. And also, so after we completed the cycle, but it was with orchestra. It was no longer with Leningrad.
Yes.
It was with the St.
Petersburg, the Kirov. It was the Flamme.
It was the St. Petersburg Orchestra, and we completed the Rachmaninoff with Michael and Maris, but it was not the same time.
And that recording that was EMI time.
Correct? That was EMI time. Yeah.
And so you still have the recording, and now people can find it. For instance.
No, everybody can find it. It's a basic recording for us. It's on streaming, and then. But it was recording with very difficult situation, and I am very proud to have succeeded, thanks to which I must say, 100%, to make this recording.
Wow, that's amazing. You are.
What I would say also to like to say is that maybe recently, last 10 years or 15 years, I did a lot of recording of Baroque music. And when I took over Virgin Classics, when I took Virgin Classics, Virgin has a color for Baroque music already, because people at the time made a lot of recording with Baroque music, Gerard Lenz.
Did you always like Baroque music?
No, I hated that at the time. But step by step, I came into it, and I was very happy because it's fantastic music. But it was at the time where the frontiers between the Baroque fans and the Romantic fans were very antagonistic. There was a big antagonism. And it was a time where the two merged, and when some Romantic orchestra could play very well Baroque music, and vice versa, and where the Baroque artists could also sing.
The divide was not so.
And after I of course made a lot of recording of Baroque with fantastic artists such as Emmanuel Villaume, or many others.
And you like that genre yourself more?
Yes, maybe I like that. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I didn't like that because for me, for instance, Baroque operas, I had this terrible souvenir of
memories.
Terrible memories of performances in Versailles by I don't remember, Charles Farncombe. It has its advantages at that time, because at least it made the Baroque music was still alive, but it was so old-fashioned and so cold and so ridiculous sometimes that that's why I didn't like that. But after, when also some conductors such as Bill Christie or Arnoncourt or John Gardner revived this with very good stage producers, it becomes something very fascinating.
Wow, that's wonderful. You are very present in the recording themselves when there are recording sessions. You like to go there. Is it to check what the artists are doing? Is it to be an advisor? Is it just because you're curious and you want to have fun? Because it's my just you feel it's a job. No, it's just because it's my reward to go there.
It's fun. No, it's after you work for 2-3 years on a recording with all the problems the recording can have. You solve all the these problems, issues, and suddenly the recording happens. So it's fantastic. It's wonderful. And of course, I like also to help. I have always loved, as I told you already, operas. And next to my activities at Warner, I like to be advisor. I do a lot of jury competitions. Yes, did one in dance, twice in dance.
Yes, twice.
But some others as well. And I am also casting advisor at Opéra de Rouen in France, 150 kilometers from Paris. It's one of the major opera houses in France. And I must say I love that, and it keeps you updated. It's good because it keeps you updated with the new singers, with the new artists. I have been also for years. I've been in Nice because in Nice it was 1 year, but I was president of a school called Knipal, which was a center to insert young artists into the professional life. And I love that. Unfortunately, the Knipal doesn't exist anymore because there was a financial problem and we had to close it. But I enjoyed tremendously to help young artists. It's something I like very much to help. And I am very respectful, and I have my own ideas about French style, what the artist should do or not do, which I say regularly during recording session as well. But this is something I would like to continue to do.
To pass on. what do you think? You said, you know, when the CD came, it was a total revolution. It was a boost for our industry. Now we have streaming, we have everything online. How do you see the future of this recording industry, and how does it connect to the future of classical music in general?
The good news is that the new generation will love new artists and to discover new artists. So for new artists, I am very confident and very positive and very optimistic that there will be for the artist a way, a configuration to express themselves. Whether it will be just audio recorded music, I'm not sure, because now video is more and more important. Maybe recording music is something which will have last for 150 years, and there will be something new. But what is important, it's not for tomorrow, I will assure you. There will, but I think long term, where the image is more and more important, maybe audio recording will be something of the past.
But you couldn't you have recording of concerts with visuals, but with a new technology that would make that concert experience at home, still concentrating on the music, that is not on the staging, not on anything else, but just seeing the concert hall. And so that could be maybe one new step in the technology that will make people, well, I need the Beethoven Fifths and I don't have it in that setting, and that could do maybe the same thing that the CD has done to the LP.
Yes, that is a possibility. There are also other possibilities to have different sound quality, and we are working with Amazon on this 3D Dolby Atmos technology, and we have created recordings for them, and also for their device that they are commercializing now, to have a new sound, and new perception of the music, of course. This said, in the past, there have been other experiences like that which were not really successful. The CD is no longer exploited or things like that. Right.
The CDs themselves, all these catalogs, actually a lot of my CDs from, you know, the first CDs I had, I cannot listen to them anymore. They kind of lost their print in themselves.
Really?
Yeah. I mean,
I have never experienced that.
That's okay, but maybe you got I left them in the sun.
Yes,
you got the good ones. But all this is stored digitally, and if there is a new medium, this will be easily translated to some new device.
Yes. What we have not kept for the old recording, which were multi-piece, multi-tracks, we have not kept all the multi-tracks. Once it was mixed. We kept. No, I don't think we kept all the multi-tracks of all recordings made in the 50s and 60s and 70s.
Okay. When you are not thinking recording opera, classical music, what do you like to do? You always think, I know that personally, you always think classical music and opera.
Yes.
But do you go to the theater sometimes? Do you go to the movies?
No, so I love to go to the movies, and I don't have time. So what I've done for many years now is that I am accredited to the Cannes Festival. I have an accreditation because I am a partner of the Cannes Festival, because you know the music from the Carnival of the Animals, which is played before each streaming,
and you own the rights.
Is my recording. So I made a deal with them, so I can go to the Cannes Festival, and I go to the Cannes Festival, and I take some vacation at the time, and I see some 30 or 40 films in 10 days, which I like. So I take some advance also, because the films I see, the movies I see, are not out yet when I see them. And I like that, but theater, I would love to go more to the theater, and I have to do that. And that's something I should do more.
Okay. Alain, it's been a great pleasure talking to you. Thank you so
My
much
pleasure.
for what you have done for this amazing industry. People in Dallas love you too because you actually were part of the competition, but we also produce actually.
So all the best to them,
yes,
especially to David.
Well,
David.
thank you very much.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.